Hey everybody, today I have a 2009 Mini Cooper. Let's see. That's got the 1.6 liter turbocharged engine in it. And a very common problem with these cars is that this turbo oil cooler line has an O-ring inside here that makes this banjo fitting twist. I don't know why they did this. As you see, here's the outgoing line, and it is not made that way. It is made solid. So you can see all the oil that's around this, because it is actually leaking out of here and dripping down the turbo. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the oxygen sensor off. We're going to pull these 10mm bolts out. There's one down here and there's one down there. And then let me show you the new part. The customer got his own part. It's a Rhine Automotive part, and here's the line. And you can see that I can sit here and twist that in because there's an O-ring in both ends. So let me start. We'll go ahead and get the oxygen sensor out, get these bolts out, and get this shield out, and I'll come back. So I got the shield out. There are 3 bolts there. There's one bolt here that's on a slide, but I went ahead and took it all the way out. One bolt here, and then this bolt here was kind of hidden. Luckily, I happen to have this rack of sockets that have different size 10mm sockets. So I started off using that socket, but I ended up having to use this socket to get that bolt out because it is just that much longer, and that's exactly what I needed. So now that we've got that off, there is the turbo and the exhaust manifold. So now what we got to do is we got to take all 4 of these bolts out, actually 3, excuse me, all 3 of these nuts out here, and then we'll go underneath to disconnect the exhaust and see if we have to take this shield out now, or we can take and leave this shield in for later. So let me get the car up in the air. First thing I'm going to do is get these out, get it up in the air, and start taking the front pipe off. So now I'm underneath the car now. So the front pipe, you have to disconnect this clamp here, and then that will disconnect the front pipe from the rest of the exhaust system. But now the next problem I'm seeing is this heat shield right here. That heat shield is bolted to a heat shield behind, so I'm going to have to get all those nuts off on both sides and this side. I'm going to go ahead and pull this oxygen sensor out, and I'm going to get that shield loose. Now, I watched this one video, and the guy wanted you to unbolt this whole front end to pull this farther away to get up in there, but I'm going to try to get in there without doing that. So let me continue working, and we'll come back. Alright, so I got this shield out. There was a nut and a bolt, and then on this side there was a bolt here and a bolt here, and then I was able to wiggle it out and get it out. You can see the scratches there. So that came out. So now I've got the exhaust unbolted. I've got the exhaust unbolted from here, but it's still very, very tight, and it's unbolted from up top. So I do believe what I'm going to have to do next is I'm going to have to unbolt this bracket from the engine to get the pipe to come loose, because these studs are keeping the pipe from moving around. So let me get those 2 nuts off and we'll come back. Alright, that's exactly what I had to do. This bracket here bolts to the engine block. There's another one on this side. The nut was already missing on that side. I just put that nut back on, and then I was able to reach up here with my hand and push it off the studs, and then the cat pipe came right out. So now, let me get the light for you guys. So now we're left with this. So now what we're going to have to do is take out this bracket here and this shield, and behind this shield is where that line bolts to the block. So it looks like a 13 and a bunch of 10s, or one 10 or a couple 10s. Let me get in here and get that out, and then we'll be able to see the bottom part of the line. Alright, the next shield has that bracket that comes off the turbo here. It's a 13mm. I loosened that, and then up top here I just took the 10mm nut bolt loose up here, and then it has these two nuts here, something was already missing. Somebody's already been in here. So I take those two out, and then this shield comes out. So let me come over here and show you. There is that bracket. I just loosened it and pushed it out of the way. And let me see if I can get the light to stay up here. There it is right there. That is where the turbo gets its oil feed line in, right there. So we have to unbolt this banjo fitting and then snake the line on up. So let me get this off. I don't know if that line he got's the right one. We might have to order a different one. So let me get this line up and out of here. Have to let the car down, and we'll see if we can, if we have the right line or not. So I was able to finagle the line out of here, but I had to bend it a little bit. So there's the new line lined up to the old line, and I had to bend that there to get that one out. So instead of bending the new line and putting strain on it, what I'm going to end up doing now is I'm going to go ahead and take this clamp off here and see if I can get the turbo to wiggle a little bit. I might have to take this line off, which is the other oil return line. Could be the cooler line, I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's a hard pipe line. I'll disconnect this to see if I can get the turbo to come forward a little bit. If I can just get the turbo to come forward just a little tiny bit, that new line will drop right down. So let me get this clamp loose and we'll see what we can do. So instead of pulling the line out through the top and bending it to get it out and bending the new line to get it in, I tried to take this clamp off to see if the turbo would give me any wiggle room. Well, there must be a bracket underneath, so that did absolutely nothing for me. So I said, hey, let's try to put it in from underneath, and that's exactly what I did. Is I was able to feed this up. You get the end piece above these AC lines right here, and then you can sneak it right back up into position. So since the old one's leaking, it doesn't matter. You can bend it and pull it out. To put the new one in, you go from underneath and you can sneak it right back in without any problem. So now all I have to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the banjo bolts with the new washers in place here first and leave that loose. Go underneath and get that lined up, because I bet you this line is not bent quite right. So let me get those in and we'll come back. Oh, and before I do that, let me show you this. I've showed this in my other videos. So just to be sure, I did not know if the banjo bolts were the same bottom or top. So luckily this has a stainless steel top. I just take a Sharpie and I mark my parts so I know exactly where they go back. All right, well, let me get these. Let me find some. Of course, the new lines did not come with any new washers, but I do believe I have new washers in my stash. So let me find some new copper washers for these two banjo bolts. Put the top one in and get it started and leave it loose so I can get the bottom one started, and we'll come back and see how we're going. You know, sometimes it pays to be Captain Scrounge. Most all these copper washers, I had a friend of mine that worked at a Mercedes-Benz dealership and came to work where I was working, and he had a whole box full of these that he threw in the trash. I went out and grabbed them and refilled my box up. So I dug through here and I found 4 brand new washers for those 2 banjo bolts that did not come with brand new washers with the new part. All right, so I'm back underneath here. So let me show you. Basically, there's an AC line right here. So you push the line up, and then you put it behind this AC line, and then you drop the front down, and then you can sneak it right back up through there without bending it up. So I have the new washers, one on one side, one on the other. That is tight. I have the line routed properly going up to the turbo. It is tight. I could not find the torque specs for these, so I just tightened them, you know, as tight as I think they needed to be. And see, there's that bracket that was in the way, that's just in the way hanging. So now I got to put that shield in with the 2 bolts here. Then the converter goes back up, the front pipe and the converter goes back up, then the next shield and the next shield. I kind of have to get on this thing because I want to get it done today, so I think that we're going to end the filming here. I might come back to show the running product and tell you how it went. So let me button this up, and I'll come back and tell you how it went. Oh well, before I do that, let me show you one thing that's going to be a big plus on doing this job. Is SK? I do believe it's SK. Let me see here. Nope, this is gear wrench. Gear wrench makes these sockets. They're all 10mm sockets. They all vary in size, and this one has a magnet in it. This is going to be what I'm going to use to get all these bolts put back in properly. Without this one here, the bolts are just going to fall. It's such tight quarters in there. So if you can, I would buy the gear wrench 10mm socket assortment that has the one with the magnet and different lengths. They have a medium, a small, medium, and a large, deep. That's what you need to go out and buy. All right, everybody, we got this one all back together. It's smoking a little bit because I cleaned it off. As you can see, no more leaky around the oil line. And just another little tip, the bolt down there, there's 2 bolts down there that you can get started from underneath. Be sure you leave all the bolts loose and get them all started before you tighten any of them up, and it'll go in much easier. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. There's an overview of how to put those oil cooler hoses in on the turbos on a Mini Cooper. Thanks a lot for watching.